Have you ever felt that you are meant to do something more? That your life is going well, but there was a feeling that you couldn't shake off? My guest today felt this strongly at one point in her life. At that juncture in her life, she was a mother of three with a legal career. Yet this former lawyer knew in her heart that she was meant to do something more, and that something more was to help introverted people find their place in this noisy world. Hello and welcome to Season 5 of the Womenpreneur Asia podcast, and I'm your host, Krista Good. My mission is to uncover the stories and strategies of Asian women entrepreneurs in Asia to help you as you navigate your own business journey. This episode is brought to you by Redbox Studio. If you want to be kept updated on new episodes, join my email list that you can find on womenpreneurasia.com. Today's episode is with Jenny To. Jenny is a certified life coach and founder of River Life Coaching in Singapore. We spoke about how a former lawyer got the inspiration to become a coach, the differences between coaching and counselling, how she marketed herself at the beginning, and of course, the challenges she faced as she started her business right in the middle of the pandemic. Let's get started. Hi, Jenny. Welcome to Womenpreneur Asia.
Hi, Krista. Thanks for having me on your show.
So, Jenny, the first question that I always ask all my guests is, where are you physically located?
Oh, okay. I'm in Singapore, so we are neighbors.
And have you always been in Singapore?
For the larger part of my life, although I'm a Malaysian, I was a Malaysian, born in Malaysia, lived there for a while, and then I moved to Singapore because of marriage. So I was thinking, how long now have I been married? So it's close to 19 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And when you first moved to Singapore, were you always doing what you're doing right now?
No, I had a different career then. I was a practicing lawyer. Well, actually, I was a practicing lawyer in Malaysia. And like I said, I moved to Singapore because of marriage, because I married a Singaporean. Then when I moved here, I made a conscious decision not to carry on with my previous practice in KL, which was as a litigation lawyer. So that was quite stressful being a litigation lawyer. So when I moved to Singapore, I said, okay, I'm not going to do that, although I am qualified to practice in Singapore. So I started looking for jobs in companies. So that's what you call in-house counsel. So I'm not attached to a private law firm as a practicing lawyer. I looked for companies that would hire me as a legal counsel sitting in the organization itself, which means I don't have external clients. The shift has now moved to internal clients. Yeah. So when I moved to Singapore, I did work in an intellectual property company, and then I took time off because I had my firstborn back then, many years ago. Now he's 17 years old. I decided, okay, I want to try being a stay-at-home mom. That was one of the hardest things I've done. So hats off to women who can do it. It's not that I didn't enjoy it, but I think as a first-time parent, it was a very steep learning curve for me. And my husband was, quite busy with work. So at times I felt that, wow, I feel like a single mom. Although I know I'm not, but I do at times. And then being away from my family, it's also different. Yeah. So then I decided, okay, I got to go back to work. But of course, I waited until he's about a year and a half. Usually people wait that long. So I found a job and I moved into financial markets, legal work, which was it's just something I picked up and I had to learn from scratch. Yeah. So for the bigger part of my career, it's always been related to legal work. And as you know now, I'm a coach.
So when you were doing law, did you enjoy your career?
Oh, yes, I did. Definitely. It's very intellectually stimulating. And when I started working in banks, I was a team lead. So I had people who I could coach and mentor. as part of my work, and I really enjoyed that. So maybe that was when I was first introduced to coaching as a team lead. The organization gave me some opportunity to increase that softer skill to be a better manager. Then I really enjoyed it. However, I thought it was just maybe like a hobby, right? I have a full-time job. Then by then I have 3 kids. Yeah, so it's like, okay. What am I doing? Don't think about shifting or something like that. So I just thought, okay. So, but every now and again, the thought came up, like, is this something I could really explore? Because I seem to be making a difference in the people I talk to, and I enjoy it. I feel really energized when I coach, although maybe then it wasn't formal coaching, but I felt that I could listen empathetically. I could really hear what that person is wanting to say and yet not say. So I could draw that person out to really open up to me. And it just felt I was making a difference. So yes, a long answer to your question. I do enjoy law. However, practicing law is more intellectual, and especially when I work in financial institutions, it's not a soft thing. It is a lot about, how do I help the business make money? And it gets quite impersonal in that sense. So I find building the one-to-one relationships in the workplace helped me find some meaning, but in a way, it still didn't feel quite enough. So yes, fulfilling externally, and on days I do find that personal satisfaction, but there was something missing, and that's why I wrote on my website that everything seems to be going well, but deep down inside I felt that there was something missing.
Did you feel particularly stressed because this feeling that something was missing, or did you feel a little bit discontented about being in law at that time?
The work itself is stressful, but I know what you mean, like this desire to do something different. It was more like a nagging feeling, and it was more that I couldn't shake it away. I just felt that I am meant to do something more, and it's not the ego speaking. At first I was thinking, okay, what do you mean that I'm meant to do something more? But I just felt that there was something I'm called to do, and I'm a Christian, so I asked God, what do you mean by this, and try to explore what's going on. So it just came to a point that I felt so uneasy, and I talked to my husband. I said, it's not something I could shake away anymore, and I seriously need to give this a shot, because otherwise I'm going to be haunted with the what if, and we all don't like that. It's like, what if I've done this? And then 5 years down the road, you're still thinking about your what ifs, and then by then it may be too late, and so that's why I told him that, okay, I really seriously got to do it. And I mean, he's also very rational, very practical. So we had quite a lot of conversations. He also said, why can't you just keep it as a hobby? You don't have to go through so much, right? Because I was telling him I want to officially and formally train as a coach. I don't want just to say, oh, let's see, if anyone wants to talk to me, I'll talk to that person. I want to go through the proper training. And so that entails, time, taking out. I guess it takes me away from the family when I'm studying and things like that, and also a financial commitment as well. So there were a lot of discussions there, and I felt that, this is something I needed to do. And that's what I did. I trained to be a coach in 2019 while still working full-time. And it was all done virtually through a school in Australia. It was a 1-year coach training program because coaching isn't regulated, so you can actually tell people you're a coach without any formal training. But because, as you know, Krista, from my background being a lawyer, I had to jump through a lot of hoops to get to where I am in my legal career. So it just didn't seem right that if I call myself a coach, I don't do anything about that. So I found this international body called International Coaching Federation. So that's not the school. That's the body that makes sure the programs that you're going on with the various schools are recognized. So it's accredited by ICF. So I found a school that has a program that's recognized by ICF, trained in that school, graduated, and then I applied for credentialing by ICF. So I'm a credentialed coach by ICF, and then I made plans to launch my business in 2020 without knowing what was going to hit in 2020.
So that's a pretty brave move.
Yeah, I mean, I was planning, and I'm a planner, so I had everything planned step by step. So in around October 2019, when I graduated a few months after that. But around October 2019, I said, okay, I'm going to incorporate my company, and this is what I'm going to do, and I talked to people about that. So the plan was to launch in April. Then when February, things started looking a bit funny in terms of the pandemic. And then March here in Singapore, we all went into lockdown. And I was asking God, so what does this mean? Do you want me to hold back? And then I reflected. I actually took quite a while, like I said, my journey to actually train and qualify as a coach. And I just felt that, okay, I've come this far. Do I want to wait again? And I just decided to do it. So thankfully, I didn't wait, because if I had waited, we wouldn't be talking right now, because I've got nothing to talk about. I wouldn't be a coach. I'll still be waiting for the pandemic to end. Then maybe now I'll be thinking, okay, Krista, I should go and incorporate my company. But I'm happy to say my company is now 2 years old. It's still growing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It turned April. It turned 2 in April. Yeah, because I started in April 2020. So it turned 2. It's still growing. I mean, there's still ups and downs, but I have big hopes for where it will go. Yeah.
And this business of yours, could you let us know what kinds of coaching that you do?
Yeah, I call my company River Life Coaching, and it's because of the coaching model that I wrote about when I was training. So we were training, we were supposed to write a paper about our coaching model, our coaching process. So a lot of my peers came up with very nice acronyms, so I tried playing with that. Just like, okay, I came up with some acronyms, but sometimes it just didn't feel like it was me. It didn't land quite well with me. So I thought, okay, that's not going to work. What will be, my model? And I thought about that. And it was only unintentionally, one day the idea came up, okay, why not write about a river? As in, your life, the river is an analogy of your life and how your river flows, whether it's flowing smoothly, whether it is meandering, whether there are rocks, whether the flow is fast or you're stuck. So I use that as an analogy in my coaching process. I don't start off with people saying, okay, your life is like a river, but sometimes the conversation comes up and I'll bring this metaphor in. So that's why I called my company River Life Coaching. So Krista, I'm a life coach. Although here, when people reach out to me initially, it's always about career. I think Singaporeans, it's always about a job first.
Professional, right?
Yeah, it's always about, because I'm also quite active on LinkedIn. So when they reach out to me like, oh, Jenny, I'm quite interested about what you're doing, because I post and my post resonates with them. And then they say, oh, can you help me with this particular issue that I'm facing in my career? It could be career transition, it could be promotion, it could be similar things that I felt like, because I coach female lawyers as well. So they tell me, Jenny, something doesn't feel right. I don't know. Should I be continuing in this? So I'm not saying that I coach everyone to leave the legal profession. I still believe that there is a lot of value being a lawyer. It just needs to suit who you are. And I've coached lawyers to get them to find, their area. So they don't leave the profession, but they're trying to figure out which area of law they want to work in. Yeah. So there are many aspects. It all starts with career mostly. However, when they partner with me and we have more conversations, it goes deeper. It goes deeper to what they want out from their lives. What impact do they think they want to make in society? What's the purpose? What's the meaning of their lives? Yeah, and that's what I really find amazing, because when I help people see that clearer and clearer, it seems like the magic just happens. It's not my doing, but when they get really clear on what their purpose is, there's no stopping them. And they're like saying, okay, Jenny, I will do this, I will do that. And then, off they go. And as an ICF coach, I do have to adhere to the code of ethics and confidentiality. So I can't tell, really in detail what I coach my clients on. However, it's always small steps. So like what I said, if it's like trying to look for a job, maybe at first they didn't feel so confident in leaving their current profession to go into something else, or just to change jobs. It's comfortable, but they're not happy. So I coach them around their thinking, like what is really holding them back? So you kind of like take away all the things that's holding them back until they have no reason to be where they are. And then that prompts them to take that first step, and they gain more confidence, and then they apply and they find a job. So it's not my doing that they find a job, but it's more like helping them see that they have that potential in them, and that, by staying on in the current job that they are not happy in, or they think that, this is really not suitable for them, what are they saying no to? Simply by saying, yes, I'm staying on, I get them to realize what they're saying no to. And when they see what they're saying no to, they're thinking, why did I say no to that when there's so many possibilities out there? Yeah.
So, do you only predominantly work with women?
No, my private clients are predominantly women, because that's my circle. And then, I reach out, and then what I write, they feel that it lands on them very well as well. However, Krista, I work on US coaching platforms. I'm a freelance coach on some of those platforms. And for those platforms, I don't get to choose who I coach. They choose me. So I have been coaching men and women from different professions and different industries. And a lot of companies that partner with such US digital coaching platforms are really tech companies and startups. So that's something completely different. But that's the beauty of being a coach. You don't need to know the industry. You just need to know how to use your coaching skills to help that person see his or her true potential. Yeah, so it's given me a lot of confidence, because when I'm with my own private clients, the circle is very small, right? So it's like lawyers, women probably in the financial institution. I'm very comfortable. It's almost like I know kind of the makeup of that person. But when I coach on these platforms, and they are engineers, they are software specialists, and they are managers, and all walks of life and different cultures. And it's amazing that when I coach them, I can still help them see that aha moment, that block, that how to get unblocked from there and how to move forward. So at the end of the day, Krista, we are all just people, and we just need to be heard and understood. A lot of times people may say, I hear you, but they don't really understand you. So as a coach, I take pains to understand their perspective, to almost see things from standing in their shoes while still not being a part of their lives, by being very objective. But at least I can understand from their lens how they're seeing. And by understanding how they're seeing, I'm able to offer a different perspective. Like, hey, what I'm hearing is ABC, why not see it as DEF? How does that sound? I mean, if they reject it completely, that's fine. But at least, they know that, okay, there is something else I can play with.
So it sounds like a very interesting business that you have gotten into.
Yes, I mean, I am diversifying. At first, when I first started, I was very keen on just having local clients, and I believed that my reach was only local in Singapore. Of course, I contacted people in Malaysia, but it's not as far as it goes. I didn't think bigger than that. Then I talked to other peer coaches, and they were saying, why don't you try, working on a platform? And I was thinking, if I work on a platform, then, I'm running away from my business, right? My mission of really impacting one person at a time. So it was very narrow-minded. Then I just tried. And I realized that I am still living out my mission. It's not under River Life Coaching. I'm a freelance coach there. And, when I'm in that engagement, there's a non-competitive clause, so I can't pitch people over to my private business. So that's fine. But I also find that I'm still impacting people one person at a time, helping them, get unstuck with what's blocking them. So I'm opening up my mind now to see, not just on platforms, but to see how I can collaborate with other coaches because of my training program. It's global, so I have a lot of peers from all over the world. So it's not that, I'm not saying that I contact them to say, can we go into a partnership, but it's like, if they have a training program, or if they're doing something and they need some other coaches, I'm happy to chip in. And likewise, if I have something, I'll tell them. So it's about collaborating. It's not about, competing. I take the view that it's good for coaches to come and collaborate together and increase the visibility of coaching. Because a lot of times when people hear coaching, they may not know what it's about. They confuse it with counseling. So I remember when I was talking to people, the first reaction was like, "Oh, Jenny, I am fine. I don't need help." And I'm like, "No, I'm not a counselor." It's okay. Coaching is helping
that very
you
common? Is that a very common reaction?
It is quite common. I think here it is quite common, although lately, because of the pandemic, there's been a lot of visibility or media on mental health. So people are now coming out and talking more about mental health. So I think it's also useful for me to talk about the differences between counseling and coaching here so that your listeners can know. So counseling is therapy. You do need to be a licensed counselor or a therapist, which I'm not. I am a trained coach. So a counselor, therapist will help you heal from an emotional pain or trauma. So they really go back to your past to see when that hurt came about, whether it's depression or anxiety or any problems that you have with anger. So they really drill down to when you first started having this, and their aim is to heal you. So there's a lot of going back to the past and really digging out things that you don't want to talk about. You probably hid it away, but it's there. So it needs to be addressed. It can be painful. Whereas for coaching, you may come and tell me that, Jenny, I'm stressed. So I will explore what causes that stress, but I won't, dive deep down into the stress, like, oh, have you always felt stressed? And really emphasize on the stress.
Go back into the childhood memory, right?
Yes. There are times when I go there because there are things that is quite deep-rooted. And I pick that up. And that's the decision I make when I go there. Then I realize that if it's just something that, the person can talk through and it's not really that deep-rooted, then it's fine. But sometimes I have told my clients, have you considered seeing a therapist? Because this is something that's always been there for you and you haven't actually talked about it. So that being said, a counselor and a coach can work hand in hand. So I have worked with clients who openly tell me, I'm seeing a therapist now, but that's for something else. I'm seeing you as my coach for something else. But at the end of the day, I tell them, make sure you tell the therapist you're seeing a coach. And likewise, if you're seeing a therapist, tell me that, so that we are both helping the same person. So there are boundaries. So for coaching, yes, talk about that person being stressed. And then I will ask the person, how are things today? What's going well? What's not going well? And what do you want for the near future? Is it to feel less stress or is to have better time management and things like that. So coaching is always a bit more forward moving, but as well as appreciating the present, because I really believe that if you don't appreciate the present, you're always forward looking, then you're missing out a lot of things by not being present as well. We have a lot going for us in the present. It's also from that foundation, then you get excited and you move to the future. So I help them create their own goals. So I don't create goals for them. You could say we co-create, or they brainstorm with me to create their goals and how to get there. And it's also me being their accountability partner. So if I have regular sessions with them, it'll be like, oh, what went well since our last session? Oh, I didn't do what you did. So sometimes they feel guilty. They say, Jenny, I didn't do your homework. And I'm like, no, it's all right. You didn't do my homework. So it's not school. I'm not going to scold you. But somehow they do feel that, oh, okay, I need to tell Jenny I've done this, because I'm going to meet her in my session, and they confess to me as well. But the main thing is, at the end of the day, I want my clients to not need me, that they have built in their own support structure to keep going. So the coach is someone who helps them build that support structure. Then they can take that support structure and go on with it and just reach their goals. Yeah.
And how long usually is an engagement with the coach?
It depends. It depends. So nowadays people are quite careful in their financial investment. So I do sell packages between 5 to 8 sessions. And then once that is over, they will, either renew or they'll say that, Jenny, this is enough, or they'll come back again later. So an engagement, if it's a shorter 5 sessions, could last about 3 to 4 months. And 8 session can stretch to about maybe 5 to 6. And sometimes they pop up, because they don't feel they're quite ready yet to go solo. Yeah.
And of course, they also enjoy that relationship that they have with you.
Yes,
right?
and to make it clear, I am not their friend. Yes, I mean, we are, there is definitely that rapport because you tell me all the things you normally won't tell anyone. There'll be people who will tell me, I can't say this to my spouse because my spouse will say, stop thinking so much. Because when you tell the people, when you tell the people, I don't think so, but when you tell people who are close in your life, there's always biases. Biases for the better, as in they really see the very good side in you, or they know you too well, and like you said, they say, oh, this is a crazy idea, and then you hold yourself back because you don't want to be judged by those whom you love, or it hurts too much when you get that kind of negative feedback from the people who are close to you. So as a coach, I'm not vested in their life. I just hear what you tell me, and I offer observations from what I hear. And sometimes I hear, your beliefs, your kind of like your mindset on a certain thing, and I can see that mindset is holding you back. But if I tell you that mindset is holding you back, you won't do anything because it's coming from someone else. So you need to, within yourself, suddenly realize that, oh, it is me who is blocking myself all along. And how I do that is I ask questions, I get them to think deeper, to go there when they don't want to go there. So in a way, it's not really friendly. I mean, I'm not hostile or anything, but I just ask questions like, why is it that you're thinking this way? Have you always been like this? And things like that, just kind of get to a deeper level of reflection. Yeah.
Now that you've talked about your packages, I saw on your website there's something called the introverted visibility.
Yes,
I know.
I titled it that because I'm an introvert, and because of my work on these coaching platforms, and like you said, coaching men and women. At first, I thought it was just maybe women who are more introverted, because I put my profile on these platforms as someone who empowers introverts to be authentic and to define success on their own terms. So they resonate with that message. And sometimes they say that, oh, I chose you because you're an introvert. I'm like, okay, so I see there's a lot of trends about, I'm an introvert. My boss told me I need to speak up more. Or my boss says you need to be more visible. No one's really seeing you. And these are people of quite high positions. They are still being asked by their managers or the CEO to say that I need you to be my right hand, but I don't see you stepping up. Yeah, and these are really intellectual people and very high performing, high achievers, and at the same time they have this feeling that, oh, but that's not me. I can't do it. So that's when I realized, oh, okay, that's quite a need here to coach people on coming out of their shells and taking those small steps outside their comfort zone. So I'm not saying that introverts cannot hold a large audience or that they cannot speak well in public or really have engaging meetings. They can. The thing is, it really tires us up when we do that. And so because you know how tired you'll be after that, you don't want to do it. And then there's a lot of introverts introspect. So there's a lot of judgment going on in our head, even before we say anything. So sometimes women leaders hold back because they say that, why should I talk? That guy saying roughly what I'm saying? Why do they need me to hear? Why do they need to hear me say, I agree with him? However, if you don't say that, then no one's really knowing what you're thinking. And who knows, when you speak, you end up not agreeing with him, but offering a different perspective. But it all starts with voicing your opinion. So because we introspect and a lot of things goes on in our heads, by the time we decide we want to speak, the moment has passed. So this program just helps them identify what's their current situation. Like I said, analyze what's going on now. And if they want some changes, what would those changes look like? And what would be the easy first step for them to move out and try something out? So I coach them, and then they will experiment certain things and then come back and say, hey, that wasn't so hard. Now I can do it, and I can do more of it. And once I think when they see it's not so hard, and it just takes a little more thought to plan. So sometimes in the bigger meetings when it's with difficult stakeholders, I ask them, who are your allies whom you can really rely on before the meetings? So introverts are good in one-to-one meetings. I suggest that they have the pre-meeting with these people so they can gather the support and kind of gauge what's the thinking and then the intention in these meetings, and then go into the meeting knowing that at least there are allies there, and you've already prepared. So for introverts, there's a lot of preparation needed. It's difficult for us to speak off the cuff, and it comes with practice. Yeah. So there isn't a one-size-fits-all structure. So the name is introverted visibility, is to help people see what they are comfortable with. Yes, get visible, but not doing so by being someone else. It's very important that they do it while still being authentically them, recognizing when their energy is really drained and what they can do when that happens. So actually there is a need for downtime. There's a need for reflection to recharge before, you go out there and put yourself out there. Another way I tell them is your message, your purpose. What are you really, what is the purpose of this presentation or this particular project? Do you identify with it? Do you believe in it? And once they can identify clearly what they believe in and what's their purpose, then they get energized and then really motivated to speak about it.
So these are the different strategies that you help introverts with while dealing or managing with some tough situation or moments, right? While in the professional world.
Yes. And actually they don't need the technical help. They just need to get out of their heads. A lot of times they're like, even simple things like, because we all a lot of us work virtually right now, right? So for managers, sometimes even seasoned managers, because of this change, right? If they're introverted, they feel that, should I be contacting my direct report and checking in and asking them, what's going on here? They hold themselves back because they don't want to micromanage. But at the same time, you're not in the same office. You don't meet them at the pantry. So you do need to be more intentional. So I asked them, what's holding you back from just calling up this person or setting up a meeting? Then, it's either they don't want to be seen to be micromanaging, and they don't want to make the direct reports feel that, my boss is checking on me. And they're very caring in a sense. They really want to make sure that person's well taken care of.
And they're very considerate, I guess.
Yes, they're very considerate and quite careful. And sometimes I say, what is your responsibility? So your responsibility is the manager. And what's your accountability here? Your accountability is to ensure that the team runs well. So if you put on the manager hat, there's nothing wrong in reaching out to that person. You're not going to scold that person. You just need to reach out to that person and say, you've not been delivering the project timeline. It was due last week. So sometimes managers even hold back that. They know that the timeline has been dropped, but they think, maybe this person's going through a hard time. But, if you really put on the hat of the manager, it's not your responsibility to guess or assume or kind of think of all the scenarios. Your job is to find out. And by finding out, you need to reach out. You need to ask those difficult questions. Yeah.
Great tip for all of us. Doesn't even matter whether we're introverts or extroverts. I think sometimes these are the skills that we need to use in order to navigate better, right, in the working and also business world.
We're all we're all different. Yeah. So I've coached the extroverted managers who said that, I really want this person to talk, but this person's not talking. I can't get any feedback. Every time I ask her, what's your feedback? She'll say, everything's good. Everything's fine. So
how do we deal with that?
I told the extroverted manager that, you really have to make this person feel safe. And it takes time. It's the trust and rapport. So sometimes the extroverted managers also tend to be quite, they don't think about how they say it, they just say it. And for an introvert who's a bit more sensitive at times, take it differently. So I said, you do need to be more intentional about not just the words you say, but how you say it. So I have to coach them to slow down, because extroverts don't slow down. It all comes out. And it may be a bit too much for an introvert. So you need
totally
to
unfiltered,
find
right?
that
It's like
totally unfiltered, yeah. So you need to find that balance. And then sometimes you need to use a different mode of communication. It may have to be written before you have a face-to-face meeting. Yeah. So that the introvert will have time to articulate the thoughts. You will have time to digest. And then you can have that open, honest discussion. But it's always about building that trust and rapport. And like you said, if everything comes out unfiltered, the trust isn't there because it's just a bit too much. So you need to slow down and really hear the other person offer that safe space. Yeah. So there's many nuances to the different types of personalities in the workplace.
When you first started your business, you started it in the midst of the pandemic. How did you first market yourself then?
Easy. Yeah, virtual. It's not easy, right? And then I'm an introvert. So, first I have my own website. So I built the website with a website designer. And I think I took pains trying to get the perfect website. So there's no such thing as the perfect website. But because, I was very careful. So I wanted the website to just look just right. Then it was a period of growing for me as well. It doesn't matter that the website is not perfect. It just needs to be out there so that people can, find it. Then I moved into social media, and that was something like what was my message. So it's something I had to learn as well, because I want to be authentic. I don't want to be someone else. But at the same time, there is so much out there in social media. So, what's the right balance? Yeah. So there's no quick answers. It's just to go out there and to do it. And, just pick yourself up if it doesn't work and try something new and just keep doing it.
Was it very different for you now that you're a coach and you had to go out and market yourself versus back then when you were in the legal profession and you were working? Was it like a totally different mindset?
Yeah, it is different. And what made me continue doing it is because, I believe that this is my purpose. And I believe in my message in helping. Right now, I believe it's to help more introverted people, find their place in this very noisy world. And I really believe in that message. So when I believe in that message, I talk about it a lot.
Were there any difficult decisions that you had to make while you were starting?
Yeah, there were periods when it was really quiet. So I had discovery calls. So discovery calls are those introductory calls that I don't charge. And I talk to many people. So being an introvert is very tiring. So when I talk to so many people, I do need some downtime. So it was challenging in the sense that I didn't see any you would say that conversion, right? I mean, if you talk about that, it's no one converted into paying clients. And I was just giving and giving and giving. I even gave like full free 1 hour coaching sessions. That's when I was new. I mean, in the start of business, because I thought, the more I give, the more people will see how genuine I am. then I realized actually I'm not doing myself any good by giving so much, because that in a way undermines the value of my coaching. Because people are like, oh, okay, Jenny's so happily giving away 1 hour coaching. It must be like, she's desperate or something. So I'm not saying that I'm holding back now, but I'm more careful with my time. Because if you want value from me, it is worth it. It has to be a two-way arrangement. I give you my time and coaching. You need to commit to me. Whether it's firstly financial commitment and also the time commitment, because it's your life that you're talking about. So it's a bit like if you give so many free sessions, there is no commitment. Seriously, it's like people just say, "Oh, it's nice talking to you," and then they go away. There's no change. You see, no matter how impactful that first session was, but there was no change. So that period, I was feeling a bit low, and I was thinking, okay, maybe I should call it quits. I mean, I think all entrepreneurs go through that period, like, oh, okay, I don't see anything happening. It's so quiet. What's going on? It's like,
they call it the dip, right? You just, go into that valley.
And then you have all these self-doubts coming out. And so I'm very thankful because I'm a coach. I belong to this, my classmates. We were not in the same class, so I don't know how you put. Okay, I'll call them my peers because we're all over the world. And that's when I reach out to them and I say, hey, I need to talk. I need you to coach me. So it's that community. I really feel it's such a blessing to have that community. So when I'm blocked, when I'm going through this low period, I get someone who's also a trained coach to coach me. And that's when we talk about my fears. Is it fear of failure? Is it fear of the unknown, the uncertainty? And when I talk about it, I also self-coach, but I need someone to coach me, so to offer different. And that's how I anchor myself on my purpose. And the purpose is still very valid and very strong. And it's just, like you said, this dip that I went through. And just keep at it. Just keep at it. It's about being persistent and just keep going if you believe in it. Even I mean, if I come to a stage that I don't believe in this anymore, which I don't think I ever will, but if I come to that stage, then yes, I will stop the business. So thankfully, it's all those relationships that I've built in that first year and then going into the second year that is now coming back to me, because maybe then they were not quite ready. But because I've built that relationship and they started to know me and understand me, now they've come back to me and said that, oh, Jenny, remember that time in May you gave us a webinar, you said this, can I now talk to you about coaching? And that's like 7-8 months later, and I'm thinking, oh, wow, okay, really need to be patient.
Does it normally take that long to convert someone from just say like...
No. But there were instances where it does take that long. Yeah. Not all the time. Because again, we were all different. And then there are some after the discovery call, I give them, my proposal and all that. The next day they said, okay, Jenny, we're signing up. So we've got that. And we've got the ones who need that gestation period.
Long time, right? To come back to you.
Yeah.
And so now that you've been in business for 2 years, what advice would you give someone who's starting a business like yours? Because you've gone through that, right? You've gone through that period where you started at probably many people call the most strangest times of all, where everyone was just sitting at home in a lockdown. So what kind of advice would you offer that particular person?
Well, firstly, ask yourself what you want to do, what you're doing. You have to get that really clear. Yeah. So it cannot be a whim and fancy, which I was thinking maybe a few years ago, it was a whim and fancy. So I needed to grow and really understand why I want to do this. So get that really clear, because that's your compass. When things are not going well, or that's your true north, then you can get yourself back and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Because if you're not clear, and when things get hard and you don't know why you're doing this, then it's really it just doesn't feel right, and you'll probably get even more lost, even more frustrated. So understand why you're doing it, whether you're selling a product or whether you're selling a service, understand why you're really doing it. And then after that, get planning done. I know I'm coming from a planning perspective, but definitely I know some people say, okay, it will happen. No. You do need to get planning done, but it doesn't have to be the perfect plan. So again, a balance. You get some business plan done or a structure, but it doesn't have to be perfect because it will change, it will grow, you will throw that away and you do something else, but at least start with a plan. Yeah. And make sure you have a strong support network, as in people who really 100% support you. So in the beginning, protect yourself by getting those people who believe in you more than you believe in yourself. The critics, that one later, when you're stronger. So don't go to the first person who will criticize. You want to say that, oh, I'm strong, but I need someone to challenge me. Not yet. Especially when you're starting out, you need people who believe you more than you believe in yourself. You need that cheerleading group of people to cheer you on. And I'm very thankful that I have coach friends who do that, my family as well, who really cheered me on. So now when I face critics, I know why I'm doing this. I know I have my support network and I know it's a journey. So I guess for anyone new starting up, there is a tendency to compare. Even now, and like you said, social media, right? There's a tendency to compare. Oh, that person only did it in 3 months and did so well. And what's wrong with me? Don't compare. I know it sounds logical. Don't compare because that person's not you. And how do you know that person only did it in 3 months? That person said on Facebook, but what's going on behind there, you don't know because we normally only put our best self forward. Yeah. So yeah, definitely know your purpose, have a plan, have a great support network, and try and suspend the comparison.
You sound to me as someone who really is very, very clear in what you want to do in your life and of course your business too. So is it in you ever since you were young? Is it something that you're very, how should I say, you're someone who knows what she wants from the very beginning? I mean, not just
I can be very stubborn. So when I was young, I wouldn't say I know what I wanted, but I can be very stubborn. So I can be very determined, right or wrong. So if I want to do something, and I will go for it, no matter how difficult it is. So I have that stubborn streak, for better or for worse. Yeah.
Maybe now is a good time to talk a little bit about your growing up years. I mean, we talked a lot about the business. So who is Jenny?
I'm an only child, actually. So a lot of times, maybe that's why I'm even a stronger introvert, because I'm by myself all the time. And I think a lot as well. I read a lot. Yeah. I could say I'm a very happy kid because my parents are very loving and I have good friends and I live in a small town and things were not as hectic, as challenging as
Which do you live in?
Port Dickson.
Oh,
Port Dickson
okay, the seaside.
Yes, the seaside town, but I don't live by the sea. I live in a little neighborhood, but it's the seaside town. Yeah. So it's very nice growing up there. I would say I'm very happy, but I always felt that there's something more to my life, even at that young age. Yeah.
More as in you wanted to get out of Port Dickson, or more as in like more to explore in the world?
Yeah, more about where is my place in this world. Yeah. That's why I when I first told people that I want to study law, I had a lot of relatives who said, Jenny, you're so quiet. Are you sure this is the right profession for you? People will eat you up alive. And that fueled me to really want to do it. In the beginning, I really wanted to do it. But when people were challenging me, yes, I became even more stubborn. And I'm like, okay, I have to prove it to myself that I can do it. So I went to UK to study law, and I did that, and I came back and practiced. Yeah.
And where did you get the inspiration to study law?
Good question. No one in my family are lawyers, but maybe it's because I read a lot. And my goal back then was to help the people who couldn't have access to legal services. Those might, I guess, underprivileged and not being able to seek legal support. My goal was to open up a law firm and to offer, such services. I guess I was very naive then as well. And so you can hear the desire to help people has always been in me. It comes in different forms now, but but I've always wanted to help people.
That is Interesting. There's sometimes I like to ask people, where do they get inspired to do certain things? And sometimes it just feels that it came truly. Sometimes it comes from childhood, from maybe influences and all that. But yeah, for me, I wanted to study law, but I never got to studying law because I was so inspired by TV. Because that was the only form of information we had back then, right? So I was
Yes.
so inspired by movies or series like LA Law. I was thinking, oh, how glamorous it is to be a lawyer and how interesting.
Practicing law is not nothing like that, and especially when you're a junior lawyer, you're waiting in high court and you're waiting on hours with dusty files, and it's nothing like LA Law, but. That's the reality, right? That's the reality.
But TV makes us all want to do something, right? It's an influence in our lives.
Yes.
So
that's
then
true.
in that case, can you name a person who has had a tremendous impact on you?
My mom, I mean, she's not that highly educated, not because she's not intelligent, because she came from a poorer background and she was the eldest daughter. And she took charge of the family, her younger sibling. She had quite a number of siblings. So she because back then, my maternal grandfather was saying, "You're a daughter. I cannot afford to put you through higher education, so you stay at home and you help me." So my maternal grandfather was a tailor, and my mom started learning how to be a seamstress by herself while also taking care of her younger brothers and sisters, and then she is a very strong, determined person, and I admire her for really taking care of the family. And then when she got married, she and my father helped put her siblings all the way through university, and all of them have good jobs and families right now. So they really look to my mother as though it's their mother. I mean, my maternal grandmother passed away just a few years ago, but all along the closeness that they felt to my mom, is amazing. And now that I'm in Singapore and my mom's in Malaysia, her siblings all, look after her, even though they're in different parts of Malaysia. Yeah. So it's like, okay, this woman is definitely a woman of substance. She made the most out of what life gave to her.
That's really inspiring. I think that's something that sometimes, until we reflect upon it, we don't really realize how strong some women can be. Especially, I suppose back then, life was a lot harder than now.
Yes, my mom always felt that, she wanted a good education, and I guess that was a regret she had. She doesn't hold any grudge against her father. It's just how life was.
Things were, right?
Yeah, because she has 10 siblings, realistically.
Wow,
so even, so that's why it's a lot. And then somehow, she's got one kid. So maybe it got spared her from having too many kids. Not that she didn't want to have any more kids, but just, again, it's something that life gave to her. Yeah, so that's something. So she really values education, and even though it was expensive to send me to the UK to study law, she and my dad made sure that I would be able to do so. Yeah. And back then, the conversion rate of ringgit to UK pounds, right?
IT expensive.
Yes.
Now let's go into something that's lighter. What's a personal goal that you're currently most focused on?
Personal goal. That for myself is that I'm always thinking about the business, and my kids always say that, coaching is so much a part of you.
We're focused on you, Jenny.
Good question. Maybe I should think about it. Well, okay. I mean, I don't have anything planned yet, but there's always, again, this thought that eventually I will write a book, but I don't know what this book is yet. Yeah. So I've said it here. It's not going to happen anytime soon because there are a few ideas, but I don't, because nowadays everyone says, oh yeah, read my book, I'm a published author, and they leverage that on social media. That's not what I want. Yeah, so I haven't come to the right book for me, whether it's going to be a faith-based book, or whether it's going to be something more of a personal story book, or whether it's something along the lines of self-help. Although there are so many self-help books out there. So I think I'm veering towards a more personal story and probably a faith-based journey. So, but nothing yet. Nothing yet. I don't have the time to do
No,
anything
don't
yet.
worry. It takes time to percolate, ideas and things that you want to research on and all that. It is quite a process writing a book. So I think that it's also good that you think about what you want to put out there, because that really is your message to the world.
Yes.
Right? So people will read it and say, "Oh, that's Jenny's message." So you got to make it
I
a
don't
good
know when
message.
though. I don't know when. One day, but it's not eating at me yet. So I know that the time isn't right. Not like when I wanted to do coaching. That was really something I couldn't push it away. This one I can still push it away, but every now and again it comes back. So when it keeps coming back stronger and stronger, that's when I know, okay, I can't run away from it. So right now it doesn't have that same feeling as when I first embarked into coaching. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like you said, let it be there, it might come up into something later down the road.
And let's talk about favorite books. Any favorite books of yours?
I like Susan Cain's Quiet, The Power of Introverts. Yeah, that's it's a
Why
it's a
am I
very
not surprised?
yeah, but it really does explain more from research based as well. She's done quite a lot of research based, and she interviewed quite a lot of people in the sciences to come up with backings, whether it's genetic. Some is, and whether it's, like you said, influenced by environment. And I think for introverts and extroverts alike, if they read that book, they have a better understanding of either side, And it's all about how easily stimulated you are and where you draw your energy from. So introverts tend to, if they get, slightly more stimulated, they need to withdraw. So there is that threshold, and it's about understanding that, and it's not a sign of weakness. And then that's why I really do like that book.
And what's in the future for your business? And of course, you.
I do want it to grow naturally, and I want it to be, right now, I guess I am now more selective about the people I want to coach, but I want to come to a point where I can be truly selective in working with the people I want to work with. Not because, I want to become inaccessible, but I think you can't coach everyone, right? I mean, some people doesn't resonate with you. It's perfectly fine. So I want to discover who are the people I can really support. And of course, those who come to me, if I think I'm not a good fit, I have this big pool of friends I can refer to. So,
right?
Yeah. So it's not a problem. So it's more like identifying really who I'm best placed to support. So right now, I'm also going through that process. So certain people, they come to me and I find that, okay, I not say I can't help them, but it's just something I feel that, it's better. They're better placed if they work with someone else. Yeah. So I would like my business to be known globally as well. And I am already slowly, being known in the coaching community, I just even outside Asia, but the business itself isn't known globally. I mean, it's out there, but it's not like, oh, okay, everyone knows River Life Coaching. But one day people will.
And what's that one key takeaway that you want our listeners to remember as a result of listening to our episode?
It's about whatever you want to do, make sure you get clear on your purpose. And if you're doing something because your parents expect you to, or there are family obligations, get clear on that. So when down the road, you won't feel resentful towards your parents or, the people who are depending on you. Because a lot of times we don't get clear on that. We're thinking that, oh, actually, I want to do it myself. But at the back of your mind, it's always about pleasing your dad because your dad wanted you to do this. So there is still not clear. But if you really get clear that you are doing this because you want to honor your father, I think then life isn't so, how shall I put it? It isn't so unfulfilling, then you will be, you won't doubt yourself so much. It's when you're not clear, then you'll doubt your path. Yeah. So just get clear on why you're doing the things you're doing.
Great advice. Love it. And finally, where can people find you online?
So it's at www.riverlifecoaching.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook, both under River Life Coaching or Jenny Toh, TOH. Either way, you should be able to find me.
Thank you, Jenny, for a very interesting insight into how coaching works and what you do with introverts or introverted people who want to be, how should I say, not extroverted, but they want to experience life to the fullest, right? But
Yes.
they need to know how to do that. Because sometimes we
Yes.
just need strategies because we feel that sometimes certain things we may be able to do if someone told us how to do it.
Yes. Or if someone just gave you, like a few options for you to think about, and then you get to try and see which one works for you. Because what I tell someone may work for that person, but it doesn't mean that it will work for you. So it's about discovering who you truly are. A coach helps you discover who you truly are. And then from then you can get to choose like your strategies because you know who you truly are.
So we will see you again. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Krista.
Once you get clear on your purpose, you're fueled up to do the things you want to do. That's the message that Jenny is conveying to all in this episode. At the end of recording this episode, Jenny said that she needed some downtime as the energy was sapped because we have been conversing for an hour. What I particularly liked about Jenny is her steadfastness, quiet confidence, and a desire to help others. As you can hear from our recording, passion doesn't always have to be a roaring fire, but slow burning embers can be powerful too. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast player. Subscribing lets you get the episode automatically when it is published. And if you want more information about her and what she does, check out the show notes on the womenpreneurasia.com website. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I'll see you next Friday.